Have you ever wanted to learn the distinctions between all the Delver decks? Well, today I'll be doing my best to show you. Let's start off with the most aggressive versions, Rug and Grixis. Both utilize Stifle and Wastelands for the mana denial strategy. And of course, they both play Bolt for more reach and removal. While both are running Delver as secrets, Rug will run Nimble Mongoose, while Grixis will run Deathrite Shaman. Rug will swing hard with large Tomogoys, while Grixis will swing wide by creating elemental tokens with Young Pyromancer. Out of all the Delver variants, these two have the strongest matchup against combo. Grixis will utilize Gitaxian Probe and Cabal Therapy in conjunction with Stifle and Wasteland to dismantle combo. While Rug, also utilizing the mana denial strategy, it would also jam in more spell pierces to use against the combo matchup. They punish weak mana bases with Stifle and Wasteland. Both have many early threats, thus creating a fast clock, and they both function well with a low mana curve. They are extremely fragile to decks running Chalice of the Void and Aether Vial. On top of that, the decks running these cards will play Wasteland and Rishdam Port, making it even harder for the Delver to squeak out a win. A resolved Chalice and Vial will make the deck's counter cards, for the most part, dead. That is, Daze, Force of Will, and Spell Pierce. These decks also have trouble with resolved creatures with 3 or more toughness, for example, Gurmag Angler and True Name Nemesis. Last, they are both heavily affected by Rest in Peace. Even more so, Rug will be in a much more precarious position. And next, we have Blue-Red Delver. This particular Delver list runs no mana denial strategy, but instead runs more burn and removal cards. For example, cards like Forked Bolt, Chain Lightning, Fire Blast, and last but not least, Price of Progress. This deck also packs 8 1-drops in the forms of Monastery, Swiftspear, and Delver as secrets. Its creatures are also more elusive due to running Stormchaser Mage alongside Delvers. Blue-Red Delver aggressively punishes weak mana bases with Price of Progress. Therefore, it has a very strong matchup against land-based strategies. The deck is weaker to combo since it runs fewer counterspells and no mana denial. Consequently, its dazes get weak faster. Bug Delver is a little more mid-ranged. It has the capability to play more powerful cards, but at the cost of speed. Deathrite Shaman can easily fix your mana so that you're able to cast threats like Liliana, Leovold, and True Name Nemesis. It also has the option to play Stifle with Wasteland and hand disruption cards like Thoughtseize or Hymn to Torak. Unlike the previous 3 Delver variants, Bug has no problem dealing with Chalice and Vial strategies since it runs multiple copies of Abrupt Decay. But since this card is one of its primary removal cards, it's less effective at killing important 1-drops since it must expend 2 mana to cast. It's slightly less aggressive and vulnerable to Rest in Peace. USA is the closest Delver can get to a mid-range deck. It has high-quality threats in the forms of Stoneforged Mystic, Batterskull, Umazawa's Jitte, and True Name Nemesis. It packs a strong Hate Bear sideboard due to playing with white mana. And it has the ability to play the strongest removal card ever printed, Swords to Plowshares. It runs the least amount of threats, and in the context of Delver is very slow. There is also the 4-color Delver list. It has the greediest mana base, thus possessing the capability to play more powerful cards. But this comes at the cost of consistency. You have to manipulate your mana in such a way that you're able to cast all your spells. A difficult feat, but when done right, it has the highest power level of all the Delvers. This is just a broad overview of all the Delver lists. Let's take a look at how some of these decks would ideally play out. We'll start with one of the faster strategies. Turn 1, we would want to play a Delver or Deathrite Shaman. If given the choice, we would choose the latter. Turn 2, we cast a Young Pyromancer and create a token by casting another spell like Ponder or Stifle during your opponent's turn. A few turns later, our graveyard will be large enough to throw down our zombie fish. All of this, backed with counterspells like Daze and Force of Will, we are pretty set to take the game. Next, let's try the slowest strategy, USA. To start, we would want a turn 1 Delver. Turn 2, we cast a Stoneforged Mystic to fetch our Batterskull. By the end of their turn 3, we cheat in Batterskull with Stoneforge's effect. Turns 4 and 5 would be spent resolving our True Name Nemesis and ultimately equipping it with our weapon. And at that point, our Nemesis will be a 7/5 with Vigilance, meaning our opponent only has a few turns to live. Also keep in mind that both these strategies run 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. I've come to enjoy Grixis the most due to its sheer firepower and versatility. Which Delver deck is your favorite? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for next time.